Something big is heading toward Baltimore, and it's not the kind of news anyone wants before a tough matchup. Out of nowhere, reports started popping up saying Joe Burrow might return exactly against the Ravens, and that alone changes the whole mood going into the week. It's the kind of twist that instantly raises the stakes and makes everybody pay a little more attention. And the wild part is that this could happen way sooner than anyone expected. His workload in practice is going up, the reports are heating up, and that Thanksgiving matchup suddenly feels like it could turn into one of those nights nobody forgets. So stick with me, because what this means for Baltimore is a lot bigger than it looks right now. The situation flipped fast. Everyone thought Joe Burrow would be out for almost the entire season, and that seemed to give the Ravens a little breathing room in the AFC North. But now the reports say he might be back on Thanksgiving, right when Baltimore was finally settling back into a rhythm inside the division. It's the kind of news that it's out of nowhere and instantly changes the vibe. This shift started when Cincinnati decided to ramp up Burrow's practice workload. According to ESPN, his toe is responding better than expected, and that opened the door for a possible return much earlier than anyone predicted. Of course, it all depends on how he reacts over the next few days, but the truth is the Bengals are excited about how he's progressing. Even if he doesn't play on Thanksgiving, the Bengals still have time left on his return window, which means Baltimore could end up facing Burrow the following week. And that matters. Facing Cincinnati with Flacco is one thing. Facing Burrow is a completely different challenge. It changes your preparation, the pace of the game, and the stakes inside the division. This possible return throws even more weight on the Ravens at a moment when the team was finally building confidence again. The AFC North was already tight, and bringing back a quarterback like Burrow only makes everything more intense. And this is where the story gets even more interesting, because the impact of his return goes far beyond one game, especially when you look at how the Ravens were viewing the division race up to this point. When Burrow went down early in the season, it looked like Baltimore had found a precious opening in the AFC North. The Ravens were still trying to steady themselves after an inconsistent stretch, and seeing Cincinnati lose their quarterback for so long made the path feel a little lighter. But now, this possible return flips everything again, putting the pressure right back on Baltimore at a moment when the team was trying to stabilize its rhythm. The division was never truly calm. Even when the Ravens clawed their way back to .500, that four-game losing streak showed just how wide open the AFC North really was. With Burrow out, it looked like at least one division rival would fade, but now the opposite might happen. Cincinnati gets its biggest weapon back exactly when the schedule gets tougher. And that matters because Baltimore has always known divisional games decide the season. Facing a weakened Bengals team is one thing. Facing a Bengals team coming back to life with Burrow is something completely different. It's the kind of detail that changes the feel of every matchup, and even how the Ravens have to manage each week moving forward. This shift in power inside the AFC North also shines a brighter light on what's happening on Cincinnati's side, because even with Burrow close to returning, the rest of that team is far from helping, and that opens another important chapter in this story. The Bengals season fell apart fast. After a 2-0 start with Burrow, the team completely collapsed, losing 7 of their last 8 and falling to 3-7, a record that basically kills any realistic playoff hopes. Their defense doesn't help at all, giving up space constantly and putting the offense in impossible situations. It's not a team that scares anybody, but Burrow's presence changes their whole energy. Joe Flacco stepped in to hold things together, while Cincinnati figured out what to do without their franchise quarterback. He had his moments, that veteran style of taking what the defense gives him, but it wasn't nearly enough to carry a team that was already sinking. The Bengals were surviving, not competing. That's why Burrow's return means so much for them. It's not just about trying to rescue the season. It's about bringing the team back to a basic level of competitiveness. When he's healthy, their offense forces opponents to change the way they play. And for Baltimore, that means every little detail becomes even more important. And all of this shows exactly how Cincinnati is looking at the final stretch. Either Burrow returns and gives them some sort of spark, or the season ends early. But that decision isn't simple, because it also means risking putting him back on the field before he's truly ready. And that leads right into the dilemma the Bengals can't avoid.
All right, we're already past the halfway point of this video, But before we continue, I noticed you haven't left a like yet. It's really important because it helps YouTube keep showing you my content so I can keep bringing you the best news about the Baltimore Ravens. So go ahead and hit that like button. It's free and it really helps. Thanks. Now let's get back to it.
Burrow is the kind of player who instantly elevates a team, but he's also someone who has dealt with repeated injuries since 2020. Every time he tries to rush back, there's that fear something else could happen. And even with that risk, the Bengals know that without him, there's basically no chance of turning things around. That pressure puts the franchise in a tough spot. Protect his future or try to save the present. Some analysts, like Jeremy Fowler, say that bringing him back could help not only the Bengals, but Burrow himself regain confidence and rhythm after so much time away. Even if the playoffs aren't realistic, getting him back on the field could build some momentum heading into 2026. It's a long-term move, not just a desperation play for this season. At the same time, there's a weight of knowing he's already missed big chunks of multiple seasons. Cincinnati can't afford to repeat that every year. Putting him back out there too early could cost him even more down the line, especially if that toe injury isn't truly ready for full contact. It's a decision tied to planning, health, and even the team's identity. And while all of that is happening, the Ravens are watching from a distance, fully aware that whatever Cincinnati decides directly influences what Baltimore is about to face inside the AFC North. And that finally brings us to the scenario that actually matters most for the Ravens: how Burrow's possible return reignites the divisional race. The AFC North doesn't let anyone breathe, and no team understands that better than the Ravens. Even when Baltimore seems to have things under control, some small detail shifts and the whole picture changes. And just the possibility of Burrow coming back throws more fuel onto a race that was already tight on its own. This isn't just any rival returning. It's a quarterback who historically makes big games complicated. Baltimore used November to rebuild confidence, sharpen the offense, and fix what wasn't working in late-game situations. But now comes a new phase of the season, with direct matchups, tough games, and decisions that will shape the standings. Burrow's potential return, even without certainty, adds an extra layer of challenge that makes the AFC North unlike any other division in the NFL. The Bengals, even in a bad spot, remain a team that can cause problems when Burrow is leading the offense. And that, combined with the usual chaos of the division, turns the next few weeks into a crucial stretch for Baltimore. Every game, every adjustment, every decision matters more because the standings are so tight. And it's exactly this mix of tension, rivalry, and sudden shift that sets the stage for the most intense stretch of the Ravens season, where every step can shape the team's destiny inside the AFC North. In the end, all of this shows how the potential return of Joe Burrow immediately affects the Ravens' path forward. Baltimore had rebuilt momentum, regained confidence, and entered the final stretch in a strong position. But the possibility of facing Burrow this soon adds pressure to every single game ahead. It's one of those moments that reminds everyone how the AFC North never give you a break, and how quickly the entire division can change. Now I want to hear from you. With all this news coming out, do you think Burrow's return really changes anything for Baltimore, or are the Ravens already prepared for whatever version of the Bengals shows up? Either way, John Harbaugh's team enters this next chapter more focused than ever, knowing this final stretch could define not just the AFC North, but the confidence they carry into the rest of the season. Baltimore is ready for whatever comes next, and the best part of the season is still ahead.
And if you, just like me, are passionate about the world of football and want to learn more about the Ravens' legacy, don't leave this video without sharing it with that friend who is also a Baltimore Ravens fan and will love this content. See those video suggestions on your screen? The first one was handpicked just for you, and the other is a recommendation from YouTube itself.